It's time to take your business to the next level, the boss level. These are the premier business owner strategies and successes being utilized by the industry's top talent today. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss. Now let's welcome your host, Ann Ganguzza.
Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss podcast. I am your host, Ann Ganguzza, along with my really wonderful friend and amazing special guest co-host, Miss Kesha Monk.
Bonjour. How are you doing?
Oh, bonjour. She is a multi-talented girl, for sure. And I just love discovering these new little tidbits about you, Kesha. You never cease to amaze me. That is for sure.
I'm a lot of work. I really am. I truly am.
I'm a lot of work.
I am.
Oh, gosh. You know, Kesha, it's just after the holidays and stuff is starting to pick up again. And I've got a boatload of auditions in my inbox
yes.
from
That's
my
a good
agents.
thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. And so I thought it might be kind of cool to discuss auditioning. The process.
I'm pretty good at that.
I'd love to hear what your process. So, because you and I probably audition. I mean, I think we both audition for commercials and anything that our agents give out to us in video games and that sort of thing. You have a different avenue, though, that you work in that I don't, which is like promo, live announce, that sort of thing. So you're getting some probably different auditions than me. So I'd love to hear like your process and maybe by discussing our processes together, we might come up with some tips and tricks for our listeners out there.
That'd be great. I just hope I don't turn them off because I am a lot of work. Like I never pick up copy and just read it, but we'll get into it.
Well, you know, I think that is actually a good thing because I personally think that so many of us just get the audition and we're trying to put out as many auditions as possible because we want to get the gig. And when we do that, we just run into the booth and then we read. Right. Do you know what I mean? Our intention is not to. I mean, we might do a big setup and we say, okay, so if they want like conversational, I'm going to be Anne and I'm going to talk to my friend. And I think we do a bunch of setup, but we don't really investigate maybe the product that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't necessarily, I'm going to say, develop the scene enough so that we're continually having a conversation or a reaction or an emotion to something.
Right.
And that's where I think spending a little more time before you actually roll out that audition to research the product, I think that's an absolute great way to get started, especially for me. I do a lot of corporate narrations, and I think investigating who the company is and what their product is, whether it's for corporate narration or commercial, that number one can really help you to get a backstory and some information about that product that you can bring to light through your voice.
Absolutely. And it will help with your overall delivery if you really, truly know what you are voicing, you know? So, yeah,
So what's your process? Tell me how do you go about, what do you do?
Girl, it sounds like a lot, but I absolutely cannot. And let me first start by saying, you know, if you're doing voiceover and you get an audition and you print out your script or whatever and you jump right in the booth, for whatever reason, maybe for time constraint, it's due at 6, it's 3:00, you want to kind of I get it. And I've done that before.
Oh, me too.
But what I've started to realize is that I really wasn't booking as much as I should have been if I just would have put a little bit more effort into preparing for the audition. So just to kind of walk you through, give you the visual, let's say, for instance, I get an audition for McDonald's. Okay, everybody knows McDonald's, but I'm a vegan. So I'm not really a vegan. I'm giving you the scenario here. Let's just say I'm a vegan and McDonald's just isn't my thing. I've seen the commercials. I've grown up with McDonald's. They've been around for 1,000 years. I kind of know the brand, but my goal is to want to make you, Anne, run out to McDonald's and get that burger, not because of all the great optics that, that come with the McDonald's commercial, have you licking your lips, but that voice is really the thing that connects you with whoever is watching the commercial, right?
Yep.
So I'll go to YouTube, YouTube University. They have the answer for everything. And not only will I educate myself, right? Exactly.
And Gangoogle it. That's what I always say.
And Gangoogle is your best friend. Trust me when I tell you. Okay. So absolutely. So, I'll research. Not only will I research the product, maybe the commercial is about a quarter pounder with cheese. Not only will I research the product, but
now I'm hungry.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry.
But I'll pull up a couple of, recent commercials, just to kind of understand the trend, maybe,
yes.
or maybe there's a particular sound that I may notice that's in common. And McDonald's commercials are different from region to region. I remember reading a string of McDonald's commercials one time. I don't know, one was for the West Coast, one was for the mid. They may all be different. They all are. They truly do cater to different audiences. Maybe they want an African American voice, or maybe they want some, they're different. So I'll study the trends. I'll see what they've done recently. I'll go to ispot.tv and I'll, pull up. I really, really go overboard with the research. And again, not that I'm trying to emulate these things. I always put my personal, I'll always be Kesha, unapologetically, without a shadow of a doubt. But it does definitely help with the overall delivery of how I may read the copy.
So in terms of casting specs, if they're asking for a specific sound-alike, how do you attack that? It's still Kesha, but with a sound-alike?
Definitely. And it really depends. As of late, I've been getting a lot of requests for Viola Davis. And I love that. I love that because, again, not necessarily in the realm where I tried to imitate her, but I'm also a musician.
Channel her.
Yeah, I definitely channel her. She has a lower register. I do lower registers very well, if you haven't been able to tell. And again, I'm into music, so I'll study her cadences. I love watching video. Again, this is voiceover, but I also like to. This is kind of weird. I like to use my body when I'm reading copy. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I shrugging my shoulders, using my hands. I'm really, really dramatic. It really helps with my read. So I'll study how she uses her body, and that's basically how I do it.
Well, when you're connecting in real life to another person, it's amazing what we don't realize we do, right? We physicate, we use our hands, we use our face to show expression.
Yes.
And I don't know what happens sometimes, but people get behind the mic and they forget about all that. And, you're standing straight behind the mic and I'm like, no, I need those hands to be moving. And I think one of the most important things for me to get and always, even for myself, it's like they help me to bring more energy to the read. And it also helps me to dissipate energy from my mouth. Okay.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is a lot of times if you're just performing and you're standing behind the mic and the energy is coming out of your mouth and you're not moving other than that, then your mouth has all the energy. And sometimes that can be a little like, I'm right up here in your ear. It can be a little bit brash or a little bit loud sometimes. And I feel like and it also doesn't help your timing at all. Because when we are working with one another or talking to one another or having a conversation or we're in the middle of an action, we move around and that needs to be replicated behind the mic. And it helps to dissipate all that maybe upfront energy out of your mouth into a natural timing. So we're thinking, we're moving, that's dissipating I'm kind of doing it right now. I'm like,
oh, I totally am.
Totally
I have to be
moving
careful.
Behind the mic.
Be sure not to hit the mic. that's how much I move around. Like, I hit the mic often. But girl, let me tell you something, Ann. I struggle, and I'm sure there are a lot of bosses out there that struggle with the conversational read, right? It's the weirdest thing. We converse all day, every day. But when it comes to having a script and trying to translate that into conversation, that's hard to do. But listen up, bosses, I'm dropping a jewel. Use your hands, because when you talk, it's natural to use your hands to help express. Using your hands when you're reading a conversational script will definitely help you deliver.
Yeah. Absolutely. Shrug your shoulders. I love that you say that. A lot of times that helps to bring it back. It helps to dissipate that energy so it's not so upfront, and it brings it back to more real, and you're not all stressed and up in your throat. That's what I like to say. Yeah, if you're all up in your throat, shrug your shoulders, bring it back down.
If you're asking a question, scratch your head. Use your eyebrows. Scratch your head. I like to grab my chin a lot. Like, really? I do that. Girl, I got to start videotaping myself, because I really think it's interesting, but I think it will help. I think it will help people. It really, really does help.
Now, here's a question that I know a lot of people, they've asked me in the past, but I know a lot of people might be thinking about when they have the specs, right? Do you follow the specs, or are you pretty much just doing Kesha and your interpretation of the script?
That's a really, really good idea, because when I first started, I would try to really give them exactly what those specs were asking for. But now I kind of tread lightly. I get the gist of what they're asking for, but I don't get lost in the specs, because if you get lost in the specs, you'll obsess over them.
Well, and then you're trying to sound like, and whenever you try to sound like something, then all of your attention is on what you sound like, and not about the content that you're speaking or the connection that you're trying to bring to the listener. So,
and here's the thing, you always have to remember, you can only be you. Yeah, I get a lot of Viola Davis requests and Queen Latifah and all these, but for the most part, I can only be me. So I do read the specs. I do try to respect what they're asking for, but I totally do not get lost in it, and I don't obsess. I don't obsess.
I think a lot of students that I've worked with in the past, if they do character reads, they don't have any problem being conversational in a character read. And I find that so amazing, because they can be conversational doing a character, but yet it's hard for them to be conversational being themselves. And I think a lot of that is a mental thing, where I think we feel like our performed voice sounds better than maybe our real voice.
Right.
Or at least that's a lot of what I get most of the time, in terms of students saying, well, I really don't like the way my voice sounds, or I can't stand to listen to myself. It amazes me how many voice artists say that to me. Well, I really can't stand to listen to myself. And I'm like,
hello, I'm raising my hand right now. Like, I'm one of those. Yeah,
you have to fight. You have to fight that, because really, as human beings, we connect to one another. And I think that that's underlying everything that you have to bring to that read and that audition. And in terms of researching, I love what you said about the specs, and you respec. I love that you respect the spec, because I, for the longest time, tried to give them everything that they wanted. And then I ended up trying too hard to sound like that. And when I did that, I sounded nothing like myself, and I sounded very announcery, sounded very fake. And just understanding, going and researching, like you were talking about. I'm like, Gangoogle it. Look at the company's webpage. Look at their recent trends. Look at, you can tell a lot by just landing on a website on the first page and seeing what is their brand. Are they bright and cheery? Are they, professional and elegant? What is their brand, and what do you think they are trying to send out to their, followers or their customers, and try to be the voice of that company. I mean, it's not even like, you have to bring yourself and be the employee of that company because you're selling that product.
Let me drop another jewel for you. So I'll Google, and I'm dropping jewels. I'll Google and I'll YouTube. But if I really want to get into it, I'll go to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and just Google to see what other people are saying about the product and or company. Because that's the target, right? So, Macy's. We all know what Macy's is. It's a great store. I think about, the Macy's on 34th Street. I have a lot of personal connections with Macy's. But, I want to see what somebody said about their experience at Macy's yesterday. So you may be able to find that on Facebook by just Googling Macy's. Again, on any form of, because you are talking to that particular audience. And bosses, I know it sounds like a lot, but I'm telling you, if you just are willing to put in just a few minutes to know what you know, right, that's all, your reads will be 1,000% better. You have a thorough understanding of what you're talking about. I'm so glad that you said that.
I'm so glad that you said that because so many times we think, oh, I don't have the time to go. I mean, it literally takes minutes to just go to a webpage, check out a YouTube channel, look at iSpot, .tv, and it really, maybe 5 minutes tops, and it's going to bring such a different perspective to your read.
Bigger than that, you're going to book. I know you guys aren't out there auditioning for your health. I mean, if you are, there's nothing wrong with that. But I audition to book. So that's a part of my process, and I think it's been working.
Who wants to audition for their health? That's right. I want to audition and book. Yeah, I love that. And I think that 5 minutes extra that you spend is well worth it.
Oh, it definitely works for me. I've been booking a lot more because I'm putting in the work to get the work.
So Kesha, let me ask you: Are you auditioning? Are you on any pay-to-plays, or are you auditioning for your agents? Does it matter? You're doing the same research regardless.
Yeah, definitely. I've kind of let the pay-to-play. Maybe we should talk about that one day. And again, if it works for you, I'm definitely not discouraging. It just doesn't work well for me. I really haven't.
I'm right
had
there
a lot.
For you.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
I personally have not had a lot of return on investment with pay-to-plays. So I'm strictly auditioning for my agents, and I am auditioning a lot.
Now, agents might be a whole nother podcast, but
yeah, we definitely got to get into it.
In regards to agents, I imagine they're keeping you busy on a day-to-day basis. So you're auditioning every single day, right?
Every single day, several times a day.
Now, is that from one agent, or is that from multiple agents?
It's from several. Now, I do not have major representation right now, but I am affiliated with a lot of smaller production houses, and that works well for me. And I guess that's part of the reason why I don't do well with the pay-to-plays, because when I'm put in a bunch of, when I'm auditioning with 1,000 other people, again, people have booked successfully, but I don't necessarily do well. I feel like I'm unique. And before I submit a demo to an agency, I'll look at their roster if it is available, and I'll see if there's anyone similar to, how I sound. I do well. I stand out in a crowd. So I like filling a void. So if I see anybody that's kind of similar, sort of, I won't submit. Right. So so being on the roster of the smaller boutique, smaller production houses has been working for me. And I've gotten some major stuff.
So in terms of audition, do you have a specific time that you spend on each audition? Would you say that and how many takes? That's the question. Do you submit multiple takes for your auditions?
Not always, but as of recent, so there is someone who a friend of mine and a mentor, a really good friend. She sent out an opportunity to like 4 or 5 African American voiceover talents, and they accidentally, I don't know if they did it on purpose, they hit a reply all when they sent the audition back to her. And so I thought that was kind of cool. I'm like, oh, let me see what they're doing, how they're reading. Yeah, exactly. It was like the biggest blessing. And I noticed, and these are some girls that are working big stuff out there. And I noticed that they would do 2 takes. So it really depends on the situation, but that's something that I literally just started to do like within the last 2 months.
And were those 2 takes completely different? That's the question.
It was a different spin. A different
totally
spin.
Different spin.
But
yeah.
I'll
different
only
sound or different spin?
Different spin and different sound. Because again, I'm musical, so I'll do something in the lower register. And then I'll do something maybe just a little bit higher, a little bit more perky. It really depends, but only if the copy is like 2 or 3 lines, 4 at the most. I'm not reading like a 30-second spot twice. Because
I agree.
Realistically speaking, agents don't have time to listen and, to listen to that kind of stuff. So, yeah. That's how I do it.
I'm going to say about 50-50 if I choose to do a second read. It depends on the context of the copy, whether I'll do a second read or not. And I always try to make sure that the second read is completely different. And if I can't do that, then I'll submit one. But I agree that doing multiple takes. And are you specifying in the beginning if you're slating in the beginning or not? Depends on your agent, I know. Are you specifying that there's 2 takes? Do you say, Kesha, 2 takes or just doing the 2 takes?
Now, this is something that I just embraced, like, again, within the last month or 2. I haven't. Because you know why? I put myself in the shoes of an agent. So check this out. I need your patience on this.
You got it.
Remember a couple of minutes ago I told you like how I like to stand out in a crowd. I used to do that when I was in radio a lot. So I knew, this is putting myself in the shoes of a program director and or agent. They're busy. You know what I mean? And that slate, believe it or not, can make or break whether or not they're going to even listen to the rest. You know what I mean? I truly believe that. I was never told this, but I just knew, again, going back to radio, that I'm not the only one submitting this air check to try to get this job. So I have to stand out. So I would do different things. Like I would take a cassette. God bless the cassettes. I would take a cassette and I would put it in like a Chinese food takeout box. Just to get their attention. Oh, I got lunch. No, actually, it's a demo. Take a listen to it. Crazy things. I used to buy like huge pieces of oak tag, fluorescent green to say, hire me. I used to use my daughter within the first 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds of an air check to say, I think you found the perfect woman for this job. My mommy. Introducing Kesha Monk. Just doing different things. Yeah. So, again, my job is to grasp their attention within the first 3, 4, 7 seconds because you're not the only one auditioning. So you want to make them listen to the entire audition, and agents know whether or not you are, remotely a possibility for the gig. So you got to get them. So I don't really waste a lot of time. This is Kesha Monk. Take 2.
Exactly.
Like, they don't have that kind of time. So, that's my process. Yep. That's my process.
I gotcha. Well, good stuff. I think hopefully we've inspired bosses out there. If you guys have any unique audition tips, we'd love to hear them. Guys, you can write us at any time to info@voboss.com. Kesha, it's been so wonderful talking to you.
Do you know how much I love you?
Always.
Do you really know how much I love you? This is cool.
Yeah. And, that love is right back at you, girl. So, yeah. So, bosses, big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and love on one another as bosses. Find out more at IPDTL.com. You guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your host, Ann Ganguzza. And take your business to the next level. Sign up for our mailing list at voboss.com and receive exclusive content, industry revolutionizing tips and strategies strategies, and new ways to rock your business like a boss. Redistribution with permission, coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.